What's going on, guys? It's your boy Decoder, and welcome back to a very special episode of Know Your Rulings. As I said last time, this is our 25,000 subscriber special, and I want to thank every single one of you for your subscriptions to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the content. So, one thing that was asked of me by a lot of you guys, and Mr. Farfa, the YouTuber from the YouTube channel as well, you guys wanted me to do a special episode about rulings about Redeyes Dragoon. So, because we hit 25,000 subs, I figured I'll do a 25k sub special and bring to you guys an exclusive Know Your Rulings video all about Redeyes Dragoon himself. So, without further ado, let's get into the rulings. So, this very first Dragoon ruling question comes to us from Max A, and they ask, "Hey Coder, if I have a Dark Magician on my field and a set Super Poly, and my opponent uses Redeyes Fusion to summon Dragoon, can I then use Super Poly on that Dragoon to make my own Dragoon?" So, the reason why this question is interesting is specifically because not a lot of people realize this, but Dragoon is actually not a dragon. What? It's actually a spellcaster. What the fuck? So, the reason why this question is interesting is because you'd be using your Dark Magician and an opponent's spellcaster, which, as we all know, the materials for Dragoon are Dark Magician and an effect Dragon monster. However, you can also use Redeyes Black Dragon itself for the fusion summon of Redeyes Dragoon. Now, if you use Redeyes Fusion to make Redeyes Dragoon, the name of that Redeyes Dragoon on the field becomes Redeyes Black Dragon. So in this case, yes, you are allowed to use Super Poly to fuse your Dark Magician and your opponent's Redeyes Dragoon that was made using Redeyes Fusion, because that Redeyes Dragoon is now called Redeyes Black Dragon. So for that reason, yes, you are allowed to make your own Dragoon using your opponent's Dragoon that was made using Redeyes Fusion. However, in this case, when you make your own Redeyes Dragoon, you'll only be able to use the effect to destroy one monster because you only used one normal monster as a material for the fusion summon of your own Dragoon. So this next ruling question comes to us from Cup of Noodles, and they ask, if I use Monster Reborn on my opponent's Redeyes Dragoon that's been properly summoned, would I be able to use the effect to destroy monsters? So in this case, Redeyes Dragoon can only use its effect to destroy monsters based on the number of normal monsters that were used for its fusion summon. Now, in this situation, you've reborn the opponent's Redeyes Dragoon from their graveyard to your field, so it's considered special summoned, not fusion summoned. So, because of that, your Redeyes Dragoon will not be able to use its effect to destroy any monsters on the field because it was not considered to be fusion summoned using any normal monsters. It's not even considered a fusion summoned monster at this point. It is only a special summoned monster, so because of that, it doesn't have any normal monsters used as material, so you won't be able to destroy any monsters. Okay, so this next ruling question comes to us from Grumpster, and they ask, if a Redeyes Dragoon is banished until the end phase, say it gets negated and then farfed, when it returns to the field, is it considered to have been fusion summoned using the two normal monsters for its effect? So the question here is, if the Redeyes Dragoon gets banished temporarily, when it returns to the field, is it able to destroy any monsters because there were normal monsters that were used as fusion material for that monster? So in the case of a monster that is banished temporarily, any of the specific specifications about the monsters that were used for its fusion summon are forgotten by the monster. So, in this case, the Redeyes Dragoon does remember that it was fusion summoned using the Redeyes Black Dragon and the Dark Magician that are now in the graveyard. However, it sees those cards as blanks. It forgets that they are normal monsters. It forgets that they are both dark monsters and things like that. So it doesn't remember anything about the attributes, the type of card, and things like that that were used for its fusion summon. It just remembers which specific physical copies of the cards were used to summon it. So, in this case, because it forgets that the two monsters that were used to fusion summon it were normal monsters, if a Redeyes Dragoon gets flipped face down by something like Book of Moon, say it gets negated beforehand, it gets flipped face down by Book of Moon or banished by a Farfa, when it returns to the field face up, it forgets that the two monsters that were used to fusion summon it were normal monsters, so it will not be able to use its effect to destroy any monsters on the field. Alright, this next ruling question is a classic. It comes to us from Wolfie, and they ask, with Redeyes Fusion, why can't I send a monster like Redeyes Wyvern to fusion summon Dragoon, and what scenarios would I be able able to use Redeyes Wyvern as material. So this is a ruling specifically pertaining to Redeyes fusion. If you were to use something like polymerization, you would absolutely be allowed to fusion with a Dark Magician that's in your hand and a Redeyes Wyvern that's also in your hand to make Redeyes Dark Dragoon. That's completely legal. Specifically where this ruling question comes from is it has to do with Redeyes fusion itself. Redeyes fusion has an individual ruling that basically says that you must use the Redeyes monster that is listed on the material of the monster you are attempting to fusion summon. So the Redeyes fusion is allowed to be used to make Redeyes Dark Dragoon, specifically because Redeyes Dark Dragoon lists Redeyes Black Dragon as a material on the card, which is the reason why you're allowed to make it with the Redeyes fusion. But the ruling for Redeyes fusion is that if the monster that is listed on this card is specifically Redeyes Black Dragon, you need to use that monster that is specifically listed on the fusion monster you're attempting to fusion summon. So for this reason, if you use Redeyes fusion, due to the ruling with Redeyes fusion itself, you have to use Redeyes Black Dragon alongside the Dark Magician in order to make the Redeyes Dark Dragoon. Alright, so this next ruling question comes to us from NecroDancer, and they ask, if I summon with polymerization Redeyes Dark Dragoon using Dark Magician and a dragon monster that treats itself as a normal monster like Dragon Spirit of White, how many times can I destroy with Redeyes Dark Dragoon? So the reason why this ruling question is very interesting is specifically because the Dragon Spirit of White treats itself as a normal monster while it's in the hand or in the graveyard, but not while it's on the field. So in this situation, the reason why this is more interesting is specifically because you're only allowed to actually fusion summon for the Redeyes Dark Dragoon if you're using a Dragon Spirit of White that is on the field, because the material needed for Redeyes Dark Dragoon is one dragon effect monster. So you're not allowed to use the Dragon Spirit of White that's in your hand as fusion material for Dark Dragoon, because at that point it's treated as a normal monster and not as an effect monster. However, if it's on the field, you are allowed to use it as a material, and people might be wondering, well, does it treat it as a normal monster when you summon the Dark Dragoon, and are you able to pop 2 monsters instead of only 1, because once it hits the graveyard it's a normal monster? The actual material that you're using is one dragon effect monster. So the Dragon Spirit of White, when being used as fusion material, is treated as an effect monster. So if you do fusion summon Redeyes Dark Dragoon using the Dark Magician and the Dragon Spirit of White, which is on your field, your Redeyes Dark Dragoon will only be able to destroy 1 monster, because the only normal monster that is treated as being used for this fusion summon is the Dark Magician itself. Alright, this next ruling question comes to us from Messiah, and they ask, if I activate Conquistador the previous turn and the next turn my opponent destroys it with Dragoon's effect, do I take effect damage? So in this situation, this is a very interesting one that happens a lot with trap monsters as well as tokens. What you need to keep in mind is that you need to look at specifically the lines of text on that trap monster or on whichever card is summoning the token. If the token or the trap monster is being summoned with question mark attack and then gains attack by some means, something like a Nibiru token for example, as opposed to something like Conquistador or the Lair of Darkness tokens, which are specifically summoned with a printed attack value. The Lair of Darkness will summon a monster that specifically has 1000 attack. The Conquistador will specifically summon itself as a monster with 500 attack. What you need to keep in mind is that when you destroy a trap monster or a token with Redeyes Dark Dragoon, it will inflict burn damage to the opponent exactly equal to that value that is specifically printed on that card. So in this situation, if the Redeyes Dark Dragoon was to destroy a Nibiru token that has 10 billion plus attack, it'll do 0 damage because the original attack of the token is question mark, which is treated as 0 while on the field. As opposed to a Conquistador, which summons itself with a printed attack value of 500, the Redeyes Dark Dragoon will still burn for 500 damage if it does destroy a Conquistador. Same thing with the Lair of Darkness token. It is summoned with a printed attack value of 1000, so if you destroy a Lair of Darkness token with the Redeyes Dark Dragoon, it will inflict 1000 points of damage to your opponent. So you have to be vigilant and look at the cards that are summoning these trap monsters or these tokens and see whether or not they summon them with a specific attack value, or if they summon them with question mark attack value and they simply gain attack after the fact. Okay, so this last ruling question comes to us from Ice Emperor Mobius, and they ask, my opponent uses the negation effect of Redeyes Dark Dragoon during my main phase to negate and destroy my card and gain 1000 attack. Afterwards, I use a copy of Triple Tactics Talent to take control of the Dragoon. If I move to battle phase and attack with Dragoon and they play a card, am I also able to use the negation effect to negate and destroy that card during the same turn? So, in this situation, you need to specifically look at the text on Redeyes Dark Dragoon. Redeyes Dark Dragoon specifically lists once per turn, you can negate and destroy a card or effect that is being activated. The reason why you are not allowed to use the Redeyes Dark Dragoon that you have taken if it's already been used on the opponent's side of the field this turn is specifically because Redeyes Dark Dragoon says once per turn you can do this, as opposed to you can only use this effect of Redeyes Dark Dragoon once per turn. This is what players often refer to as soft once per turn or hard once per turn. When a card says that you as the player can only use this effect of the named card once per turn, that restriction is applied to once per turn per player. As opposed to when a card simply says once per turn you can do this, that restriction is specifically applied to that physical card itself. So because the Redeyes Dark Dragoon says once per turn you can use the effect to negate, as opposed to you can only use this effect of Redeyes Dark Dragoon once per turn, that restriction is specifically applied to that physical copy of Redeyes Dark Dragoon. So if it does change control, you as the new controller of the Redeyes Dark Dragoon cannot use that effect that's already been used of this Redeyes Dark Dragoon because its restriction is applied to itself and not applied to each individual player. So anyways, guys, that was it for this episode of Know Your Rulings. I hope you guys know absolutely everything you wanted to know about Redeyes Dark Dragoon. And once again, I really wanted to thank you guys for 25,000 subs on this channel. It means the absolute world to me, but we don't stop there. We keep grinding and we make that number bigger. So thank you so much for everything, guys. Don't forget to leave your ruling questions in the comment section of this video. Next episode, we're going back to answering a wide variety of ruling questions that you guys have for me. So I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!